Up next, we have a game on the original Game Boy. It's part of a classic franchise, and honestly, I was taken aback a little bit on this one by just how much it was willing to not diverge from the formula. It feels just like the original NES games and without very much that has changed. And that game is Adventure Island 2: Aliens in Paradise. So like I said, it looks and plays just like the other Adventure Island games on the NES. You play as Master Higgins. He's a classic character, but to me, he just looks like your standard Jimmy Buffett concert goer with the like little pot belly and the cap. He's great, but man, I can't believe they leaned into him so hard as a game character. It's just a standard side scroller. You platform, you kill enemies, you collect various weapons and things here and there. But I guess the Adventure Islands gimmick, so to speak, is that there's like a timer that's your hunger meter. So you have to find food around the levels to refill it. It can go down quickly, but honestly, the levels are like less than a minute long usually. And so it doesn't really come into play very often. There are a lot of levels, and some of them here and there you have to focus on this eating mechanic, but in general you can just ignore it unless you're trying to get points for some reason. Master Higgins himself as a character, he has this, and all the Adventure Island games are like this, they have this real weird sense of inertia. He jumps really high but not very far, and he drops out of the air like a stone. And it makes doing things like jumping over basic stationary obstacles really challenging and kind of annoying. And jumping from platform to platform often feels like it's a leap of faith and you're not going to make it. You run up to the last pixel and jump as far as you can to land on the next platform, like one pixel onto it. But like I said, there are power-ups and weapons to help you with all this. And there are monsters in the level that help. They let you take an extra hit. And there's even a pterodactyl that will let you fly around, which is nice. Also, you can bank items. So if you have the tomahawk and you pick up the boomerang, it'll bank your tomahawk and you can use that on another level. If you die, you lose your power-up. So on the overworld screen right before you pick a level, it'll let you pick which items that you've collected that you still have in your inventory that you want to use. But sometimes you end up with more lives than you have items, and you can be stuck in a level where you have no items and no way to attack the enemies. So you basically just have to run through the whole stage by jumping over everything and hope you get lucky. And they will even put enemies in certain places where you can't get past them this way. You have to have an item. So it almost soft locks you. When you run out of lives and you continue, you start with nothing. So I played through the first third of the game this way, and just struggling trying to get through these levels without ever attacking anything. But I found out that if you just quit the game and put in the password, from their password system, it lets you start close to where you left off, but it replenishes all your items, gives you one of each. So don't ever continue in this game. Just if you die and run out of lives, just turn off the system and then put in the password, and it'll give you a bunch of lives, or not a bunch of lives, a bunch of items. And like I said, that helps a lot. As I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of levels in this, but they're all really short, and a lot of them feel recycled. And I swear there are some of them that are just carbon copies of other ones. They're just identical, copied and pasted, enemy for enemy, which is really annoying. Luckily, each level is topped off with a pretty decent boss fight. They're very simple. Learning their patterns is a lot of fun, and I did enjoy those. Those were my favorite part of the game for sure. One tip I have with the game that is kind of funny. I mentioned the pterodactyl that can fly. If you get the pterodactyl, you can just fly over the top of probably 3/4 of the levels in the game without ever having to interact with anything at all. So there were a few times where I got stuck where I was like, I'm done working on this. I don't want to do it anymore. So I just got the pterodactyl and just flew over everything, which is kind of cheap, but I feel like the game's almost designed around that in some places, because they'll put aerial enemies in places where you wouldn't see them normally if you're playing the stage. So they were fully aware when they made this of the pterodactyl cheat. It's kind of funny. That being said, is Adventure Island 2 on the Game Boy something you want to play today? If you're a fan of the series, it's decent enough. It can be frustrating at times and a little annoying, especially with like running out of items and things. But the password system, once I figured out that it existed, helped with that. And once you discover that, you can beat the game without too much effort. I think there's 9 worlds, and they're each split into about 7 or 8 stages each. So it's a pretty decently long Game Boy game. That being said, it's fairly mediocre, and I'd have to give it like a 5 out of 10.